We've talked on the YouTube channel a number of times, guys, about Prototype and the future of this franchise, which I'm really hoping, guys, especially moving into the next generation of consoles, we get somewhat of a soft reboot of Prototype or just a full-blown continuation of this franchise. And in this segment of the show, I'm going to give you the top 5 things that we want out of Prototype 3 in particular. And when I say we, guys, I'm talking mainly about myself here. Some of you will share similar opinions, and if you don't, or even if you do, let me know what the top 5 things you want in Prototype 3 in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So coming in at number 1, guys, I want to see the continuation of the Alex Mercer narrative, guys. I think it's really important, whether we go back in time, whether we go, way in the future, whatever it might be, guys. I think that Alex Mercer, there was a lot of mystery to this character. I think there were a lot of things that we really enjoyed. And see, the second game just wasn't as memorable, in my opinion, to the first game. I thought that they should have continued the Alex Mercer narrative a little bit longer, at least. There's nothing wrong with going on to new characters, but I just think that they should have kind of stuck with Mercer for a period of time. So I think that we need to continue the Alex Mercer narrative moving into Prototype 3. Whether Prototype 3 is like a soft reboot, whatever it might be, guys, I think that Alex Mercer's character, there's a lot for us to explore there. So that would be number 1. At number 2, guys, I really want to see more things for us to do within the world of Prototype. I mean, there's always consistent amounts of action going on throughout the course of the game, but I think that being able to explore, kind of being like just a normal person in this universe, instead of obviously having all those abilities, but ways in which that we can walk into stores and we can just act like a normal person if we want to. Just different things about the game, in my opinion, that I think there needs to be more exploration within this world as our character, as hopefully Alex Mercer, or even if it's a new character, that's totally fine as well if they decide to like go away in the future or something. But I really think that there just needs to be more to do. Along the journey of Prototype 3, I'd like to see there be a number of things that we can do along the way, whether that is, from the perspective of being able to do a bunch of other side missions, whether there's just things to do within the city or the environments around it. Just being able to just casually walk around if we want to. Having all of those things, guys, I think will really help build this franchise in a major way. Coming in at number 3, guys, that brings me to the, a part in which I believe needs to have new characters, some new enemies, new environments, new abilities as your character. So I want some existing characters from the other games, but I also want some new characters to be in the fray, as well as enemies, as well as abilities. Obviously, you're going to want other abilities. You don't want to copy and paste of Prototype 1 or Prototype 2. You want there to be the same kind of gameplay mechanics and such, but at the end of the day, you also are going to want an expansion on all those things, especially when we're talking about the abilities, especially when we're talking about, the enemies and things of that nature. This is a franchise, guys, that reminds me of Infamous from Sucker Punch, and I think that it's got something there. I actually liked the Prototype games more than Infamous personally, but I really want to see, like I said, the Alex Mercer narrative come back, and I would like to see their, expanded upon with new characters, new enemies, new environments and locations. We want it to feel somewhat like Prototype, but we also want it to have its own feel to it as well, so that it kind of sets itself apart. And maybe whether that means taking more chances, whatever the case might be, I would love to see that in Prototype 3. Coming in at number 4, guys, this is something that I talk about a lot on the YouTube channel, is having multiplayer modes as well as co-op modes when you're talking about these AAA titles that are being sold for $60. I think that you need to have multiplayer, you need to have co-op modes, and I think that a game like Prototype 3 could very well have both of those things within it, and that also helps build the franchise as a whole. When you're done beating the campaign, no matter how long it takes you to beat it, I think that going ahead and whether you play the game through again on a harder difficulty, looking for more collectibles and things of that nature, after a while, you're going to move on to another game most likely if there's not other ways in which you can connect with the franchise. And I think that Prototype 3 should have multiplayer modes where you can play with other people across the world, or co-op modes as well that you can play with your friends and kind of go throughout the world, whether it's from a campaign perspective, multiplayer perspective, or even like some co-op missions would be really cool as well. So having multiplayer and co-op, I think is really important. And then coming in at number 5, guys, I'd love to see a longer story here within Prototype 3. I'd like to see a little bit of a longer story, especially if they're not planning on doing multiplayer as well as co-op. But even if they are, I'd like to see a longer story, more things to do within the world along the journey of the Prototype 3 story. I think that, you know, remastering the other games is kind of the second part to this, you know, to number 5 here, is having where, you know, not only can we maybe get a soft reboot, but we can also have those games remastered, that being Prototype 1 and Prototype 2, on the next gen consoles, which is going to introduce people to Prototype, and then Prototype 3 coming in maybe later or, you know, around the same time, so that people get fully acclimated with it. I think that could be something really, really special. But those are the 5 things, guys, that I want to see out of Prototype 3. The one other thing, guys, that I mention a lot is free-to-play. You know, could Prototype 3 being a soft reboot be a free-to-play game? Could maybe aspects of it, like multiplayer and co-op, be free? Those are questions that, you know, obviously, it's hard to say. I believe, though, that it could be a really good free-to-play game if you had certain segments of it, like multiplayer and such, because then it's going to get everyone to at least try the game out. And then from there, you know, it might have a pretty dedicated, you know, viewer base as far as from from Twitch or even from YouTube videos and such. Having more ways you connect with the franchise, guys, helps grow it over time. But let me know, guys, what are the top 5 things that you guys want in Prototype 3? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Prototype 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.